Hello and welcome into this video, and we are going to be discussing how we assess for stress in teenagers. So stay tuned as we get into that in this video. One of the first things as parents or people involved with teens that you're going to want to be looking for is understanding what you should see in teenagers. It looks different. Stress looks different for teenagers. So we definitely want to be doing that. Then there's a 3-point check-in. We'll talk about what that is. Questioning. It's a powerful tool. We'll discuss what kind of questions you might want to ask. Then there are assessments. There are tools that are valid tools that you can use to really get the nitty-gritty. Of course, what you might want to look for a mindset, right? Some of those beliefs and things, all of those things, that's what we'll be discussing next. So when a teenager's under stress, what might you be seeing? And lots of times we misread what the signs are. We think our teenager might be apathetic or even lazy because they begin to withdraw. Maybe they begin to sleep more. They aren't showing the energy level. They aren't participating in things that they used to participate in. And you just think it's kind of, they're becoming apathetic. Or, man, what do I got to do to motivate them? They're just lazy. And what it really could very well be is their response to the stress and this uh, removing themselves, right? If we think of the amygdala and that stress response syndrome, we flee, we freeze, or we fight. Well, sometimes that freezing kind of aspect can be this apathy. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to kind of move at all, right? So if you kind of think of it in that terms, that is one thing that you might be looking for. It can also come out, you might think of it as being disobedient or acting out behaviors, or perfectionism is another thing that it may manifest out into those sort of behaviors. So those would be some signs that they aren't really dealing with their stress well when you see symptoms like that. The 3-point check-in, we kind of build off what we were just talking about. And what you're really going to be looking for are things like their energy, emotion, and engagement, the 3 E's. Energy level. They're looking for extremes, right? Are they low energy and just like a word I used before, apathetic? Do they just not seem to be able to do anything? Or are they like over energetic, doing everything fast, interrupting, moving fast, eating fast? That can also be a sign. So the energy level, particularly if it's a change, right? You're seeing them become more energetic or hyperactive, or the opposite, becoming more lethargic and just not doing as much. So that's first point. Emotion. Are they becoming moodier, more reactive, right? What's their emotional level? Are you seeing the highs and lows, more highs? You're kind of looking for that change in emotionality, reactivity, how they are handling different situations, that moodiness. So if there's changes in that, make note. The other one is engagement. Are they withdrawing, right? Are they removing themselves from certain relationships? Are they maybe not doing the things that they used to do and seem to be excited about doing? So how engaged are they in their daily life and activities? Looking for change there. Kind of general rule of thumb that I always like to talk about is if you see changes in 2 of those, that's a definite red flag, right? There's degrees. So if you saw some significant changes in one of those, you might want to be concerned. But certainly if you're seeing changes in 2 of those, or even all 3, that should be something you want to begin to ask questions. Questioning is powerful. Learning to ask good questions. This is really at the heart of being able to get information. It's at the heart of what so much of the coaching that I do. It's the heart of what a good therapist will do, is asking right questions. So what are some of these questions? One of the things I really want to look for are what questions, which might be triggers, right? You're trying to find out what's triggering it, what's starting it. But even more important, from my standpoint, trying to then help solve the problem or to fix things is how questions, process oriented questions. I tell you, I've said this story before. It bears repeating. I'll probably repeat it in videos out in the future. But there was a student, Jimmy, and Jimmy was early in my career, right? Early in my career, but he was always getting kicked out of classes. And I had an opportunity to observe Jimmy in the classroom. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, he's going to have to be removed because he was being a pain in the butt. Now, I asked him point blank, why are you such a pain in the butt? He said, because that's what I am. Now, my response was different than any response that he typically gets. And my response was, oh, how did you decide that? Totally different question, and it interrupted his pattern. When he said, I didn't decide that, it's just what I am, I asked another question, or actually kind of made a statement. Oh, so you chose to believe a lie. So I interrupted the pattern with a question, then I embedded a new suggestion, which is choosing to believe a lie, meaning that belief he had was a lie. Those sort of questioning and embedded suggestion techniques are powerful tools that are relatively easy to learn. There are assessment tools that you can get access to. And sometimes even in schools, they have social workers and school psychologists and stuff will give assessments. So if you're concerned, there's a possibility of trying to find out whether they qualify for special services. And yes, emotionality can be a disability. So that is one possible route. There are many parents, and I totally understand why they might not want to go that route, worrying about stigmatism and all this other stuff. I don't want to go there in this video, but there are alternatives that you can also get. I give a stress assessment to my clients, even potential clients. So that's something that it really doesn't even necessarily cost much. If you want to, really good strategy session with somebody, it's going to cost you a little bit. But part of that is assessing their ability to handle stress in a bunch of different areas. So there's some really good tools out there that are readily available. And yes, you in all likelihood would have to pay for them. I haven't really found any really good ones that are free online. There are some that you can find, but they aren't necessarily scientifically validated or proven that way. So, anyways, there are tools out there. Ultimately, what you really want to be finding out through the questioning and even the assessment is what's going on underneath. What is the mindset that's allowing the stress to kind of take control? Because that's really what a concern is. Not that they're experiencing stress, but when you get stuck in the emotion of stress, that's when all these things begin to pile on. And when you're holding on to that stress and that emotion of stress, all these other things begin to manifest stuff. The longer you kind of get in that cycle where you're experiencing stress, you're kind of holding on to it, you can't really let it go, you perseverate on it, it just snowballs, right? You kind of get in this spiral. And it can become a significant mental health issue and physical health issue. So what we like to work on is that mindset behind it. What are some of those beliefs happening behind it? What are maybe some of the labels that you've held onto that are guiding this? That's those mindset issues. And when you deal with a mindset and those beliefs and all, you're setting yourself up to then be better able to remove yourself from the emotion of stressful situations. You experience it, you learn from it, you process it, you deal with it, you kind of let it go. Doesn't make stress go away. It helps you handle it in a much more productive and meaningful way. That's ultimately what the mindset does, and that's what we're really, truly after. Well, we've come to the end of this video, and as always, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, check out the other videos. I also encourage you to check out our webinars. In particular, I got a new one that's just come out, the Champions Mindset webinar, and the link to that will be in the description of this video. They're free, so I encourage you to register for that. again, those webinars are 35 to 45, 50 minutes long, so there's a little more information. So check that out today, and I'll see you in the next video.